Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about dashes, one of the easiest places to get free points on the SAT. So what's the rule? A dash, either as a pair or by itself, somehow relates to extra information. So if you have a pair, such as two dashes, they're always going to be wrapping around bonus information, kind of like parentheses, hence the name parenthetical. So if you remove the part between the dashes, you'll still have a complete sentence. For example, the experiment, which took over 3 years, confirmed the hypothesis. Now you can remove the part in the middle and you still have a full sentence. The experiment confirmed the hypothesis. Now a single dash introduces extra information, but is much more similar to a colon. As an example, she had one goal, winning the championship. And like a colon, the part before the dash also needs to be a complete sentence. So, like I mentioned earlier, the easiest way to test whether or not you're going to be having a pair or a single dash is by doing the removal test. And all you do here is you remove the part that comes inside the two dashes. For example, the mayor, a former teacher, proposed new funding. Now you can remove the part that says a former teacher, and you'll only have the mayor proposed new funding. Here you have the subject and verb, so you have a complete sentence. Now in the second one, it's wrong since the verb propose is within the parenthetical. So if you remove it, the mayor, new funding. The mayor what? Did he approve for new funding? Did he not approve for new funding? What happened? Did he disagree, agree? You don't know. So the verb is now trapped inside the parenthetical and you no longer have a complete sentence, which means this part, this parenthetical, is crucial to making sure you have a complete sentence, hence you can't remove it. Now you have the matching rule, and when a sentence has one dash in the middle, there always has to be a second dash to close it, except unless the first dash is a complete sentence, and then you need to make sure you are not following the single dash rule, where you're now acting as a colon. For example, the composer, known for her film scores, won 3 Grammys. You have the opening dash here, but you're closing with the comma, which doesn't work since you need to close with the dash and the dash. You can't have a dash, comma, comma, dash, dash, parentheses, etc. They always need to match, kind of like how you have open parentheses and close parentheses. So the second example is the correct one. The composer, known for her film scores, won 3 Grammys. So what's the strategy here? If there's always a dash in the middle of the non-underlined part in the text, which is where you put in your answer, the answer needs to include a matching dash. The dash is always going to be fixed. You need it. It's always going to be open close. So the answer has to have the pair. So with this one observation, you can quickly eliminate 3 other choices. The only exception to this is to check if the single dash is acting like a colon. And in that case, it doesn't need a pair. So just be careful of that. So now you might be wondering, what's the difference then if all of these dashes, commas, parentheses act the same? So yes, they all function exactly the same. The SAT, all it does is checking the consistency. So you have to have comma, comma, dash, dash, parentheses, parentheses. No like comma, dash, dash, comma. You need to pick one type of grammar punctuation, and you got to use that consistently. So here's a quick full summary. A dash helps set off extra information. A pair can help wrap in extra information in the middle, or the single dash essentially introduces it at the end, and the extra info is always removable. The way you can test this is through the removal test, where you can remove everything between the dashes. If the remaining sentence is still complete, it works. Otherwise, it's in the wrong place. Then you have the matching rule, where you always need to have an open dash and with a closed dash, kind of have you have open parentheses and closed parentheses. And always look for the fixed dash, especially in the question. If you have a dash there, 99% of the time you're going to need to have an answer choice with a matching dash in your answer choice. Otherwise, it's going to be wrong. So here's a quick problem. Architect Maya Lin is best known for designing the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. Her approach to the blank emphasized simplicity and emotional resonance over the grand heroic style that many had expected from a national monument. So all the choices here have project, and this is a form of parenthetical. This is also a form of parenthetical. This is incorrect since of the dash, dash, comma, comma, dash, and same thing with the C and with the D. So we both know that. So now we know that C and D are outright wrong, since if you're going to start with the comma, you need to finish with the comma. If you're going to start with the dash, you're going to need to finish with the dash, which means A and B are both correctly grammatically formatted. So the answer choice could be any one of those, but since we're testing dashes in this case, it's going to be B. So now let's take a look at the hints. So once again, you need to have the matching rule. It's why C and D were wrong here. One of them was a dash comma, which is option C, and the option D was the exact opposite, just swapped. Then there's this rule called comma clutter, where if a sentence has a lot of commas nearby, it's going to be really, really confusing to know whether or not is this where the parenthetical is starting from simplicity to grand, or is it from which is what we're trying to say right here, which is why we chose B. Which means it's always better, especially when you're writing your essays, things like that, to do the option that's a lot more clear. And in this case, when you look at A and B is going to be correct. Now, most of the cases in the SAT, the answer choices are not going to be this controversial or similar. They're always going to be much more straightforward. So once again, here's a quick look at the solution. C and D are wrong since they're not consistent, where you have dash, comma, comma, dash. Now A is wrong. A is correct, but it's wrong in the sense of clarity, which makes B the most correct answer. Now here's a look at problem number 2. The Voyager 1 spacecraft launched in 1977 to study the outer planets of our solar system, now the most distant human-made object in space, transmitting data from over 15 billion miles away. This dash here, I want to make sure everyone understands, is not the dash that's closing here. It's a different type of dash. It's the one to help make it very, connect the two words. So we need something that's going to close this dash seen over here. Now that's going to be option choice B. Now let's double check that this first dash is not functioning as a colon, the Voyager 1 spacecraft. Now this has to be parenthetical since it's not a complete sentence, which means B is the only correct option. Now let's take a look at the hints. Once again, the fixed dash strategy, there was already a dash here, so we could already tell that within the 4 answer choices, one of them needs to have a dash, especially since this part in the start is not a complete sentence. Let's take a look at the second hint. The removal test, once again, afterwards, it's always good to test and make sure that the part, once you remove it, does still have a complete sentence. The Voyager 1 spacecraft is now the most distant human-made object in space, transmitting data from over 15 billion miles away. It is a complete sentence. Here's a quick summary. Now let's look at problem number 3. Neuroscientist Dr. Anika Patel has spent 2 decades studying the effects of music on brain development. Her latest blank, the therapeutic benefits of rhythm-based exercises for patients recovering from traumatic brain injuries, has drawn interest from rehabilitation centers worldwide. I already see there is a dash over here, which means we're going to need to check and confirm that the part before is functioning as a complete sentence. So let's plug study in. Her latest study, which examines the therapeutic benefits of rhythm-based exercises for patients recovering from traumatic brain injuries, has drawn interest from rehab centers worldwide. This part before isn't a full complete sentence, so we're going to be having B, which works, since all of this is just expanding on what she studies, and it's just more descriptive information. Now, if we test it with only study and go straight into has drawn interest, her latest study has drawn interest from rehab centers worldwide. The sentence is a complete sentence, which means B is going to be the right answer here. So once again, you need to be careful about checking the dash. If you have a closing dash, once again, you might have an opening dash in the start, and this is why you need to always check the answer choices. And also it's crucial to make sure it's not functioning as a colon. And then here you have some wording changes, but don't panic, it's going to be okay. The matching rule still comes first, to always make sure that it can either be parenthetical, which means you can remove it, or it's going to be a colon once again. Here's a quick summary of the solution. Now here's a full summary. So a dash always sets off extra information. Either it's going to be a pair of dashes in the middle, which you can remove, or it's going to be a single dash, which acts like a colon, and in both cases, like a colon, you're going to be in either way expanding on some implied question or descriptive information from the sentence before. And then the easiest way to test whether or not you can remove it's acting as parenthetical or as a colon is by the removal test, where you remove everything in between the dashes, and you can check whether the remaining sentence is still complete or not. If it is, it's correct, otherwise it's wrong. Then you have the matching rule, never mix up dashes and commas, always dash and dash, and then look for the fixed dash in this question. If you have a fixed dash within the question, then most likely 99% of the time you're going to need one in one of your answer choices. Thank you very much for staying with me today, and make sure to stay on the lookout for the next video, this time about apostrophes. Subscribe and keep grinding.